Let's get started. All right, welcome to Early Care Connection. I'm Izzy Greenberg. Today we have our resident panel of experts, Merrill from the Connecticut Early Childhood Alliance and Ava Bermúdez Zimmerman from Childcare for Connecticut's Future. I want to start with thanking Sandra for interpreting for us and remind everyone to speak slowly and conscientiously so that she can get it accurately to our Spanish-speaking folks. I want to remind everyone to use the chat for technical difficulties or to communicate between the community, and to use the Q&A if you have questions for our panelists. So today we have two different segments. First, we are going to start out with Mathias Berner, who is the Engagement and Mobilization Manager for the Connecticut Project. He's going to speak for a few minutes about the kindergarten eligibility change and some actions that they're doing around that. We're then going to move into Ava, who will be helping us all understand how this year's Morning Without Childcare will work. We're beginning to get that in motion. And so wanted everybody to be up to date on these actions. So today is action oriented. Turn on your transcript, come in and out. It doesn't really matter. We're recording this. It will be up on YouTube in the next 24 hours with all of the links. And so here we go. Mathias, I would love to welcome you and introduce you to the crowd. You're welcome to tell people what you're here for.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Izzy. How's it going, everybody? Super happy to be here. Again, my name is Mathias Berner. I'm the Engagement and Mobilization Manager at the Connecticut Project. Today, the thing that we're really trying to get folks involved in, as I'm sure really most, if not everybody on this call knows, lawmakers in Connecticut recently changed a policy regarding when kids can start kindergarten. Prior to the change, kids had to be 5 years old by December 31st to enroll in kindergarten. And now kids must be 5 years old by September 1st to enroll in kindergarten. So we're really asking for folks currently to sign on to an open letter to the governor. One, asking to phase in this change so that parents and early childhood educators have time to plan, and also asking for folks to support the idea to increase childcare subsidies by $50 million to help the thousands of families who will need an extra year of childcare that they didn't expect. So we have an open letter that we're trying to get as many parents to sign on as possible. So would really encourage folks to share out this open letter to your networks, to parents that are affected by this, to parents who might be interested in this. I'm going to drop currently in the chat just the link so that you can sign on, pass it to your friends, pass it to your networks for folks. Really appreciate as many people getting on board there. We're really trying to create an action network around this. And the other thing that we're asking folks to do, so we're really trying to gather as much testimony as possible around this. And we really want to meet with parents on this call, parents that people on this call know that are affected by this issue, so that we can start developing testimony and really make sure that we have enough really strong testimony when we end up going to the Capitol, and also when we want to end up doing some press conference work around this. So if you have a story that you want to share, or if you know a parent that you think has a strong story, I'm going to drop a bookings link for folks to schedule some time with me. This is connected directly to my calendar, and really just encouraging as many folks as possible to sign up and share testimony so that we can really gather as much groundswell as we can around this. So once again, just dropping that bookings link in there, really looking for as many parents as we can to jump on board there. And then again, a plug for the action open letter. Really just if folks can share it with their networks, share it with, groups of parents that, that would be really great. But I think that's all that I have for me. So I can pass it over back to you, Izzy. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you so much. And appreciate you being here, letting us know what's going on in that universe. So folks can look at the chat for all of the links. And when we post the recording, what we've been doing is putting the chat file in the description of the video. And so you can find all of those links in that description. All right. Thanks so much, Mathias. All right, I am going to switch over and pass it to Ava Bermúdez Zimmerman, who of course is one of the folks that we have here every week as one of our experts is also the director of the Child Care for Connecticut's Future campaign, who is organizing Connecticut's Morning Without Childcare on April 10th. Just a reminder to folks, it's such an amazing event and has drawn so much attention that the national partners have actually taken our idea and made a National Day Without Childcare. Of course, you're welcome to participate in that, but more importantly, we really want you to focus on the Connecticut one because it's timed to our legislative session. But that's just a little bit of a brag on them to say that the action that you all have done has been so meaningful that our national partners have adopted it as well. So just wanted to let you know that. Okay, Ava, the floor is yours. You can let everybody know.
Good morning. Good morning. I know most of you on this call have probably heard of Child Care for Connecticut's Future. And if you haven't, you've probably heard in the last 2 years, like Izzy mentioned, the day of action. So Morning Without Childcare. Once we got started with the first year, it really took over, so much so that, like Izzy mentioned, it went national. But going a little bit more into the roots of why Morning Without Childcare, we get that question asked pretty frequently. The providers, all of you, some of you who are part of these meetings and conversations, had a desire to strike, to shut down completely for a full day. Love the enthusiasm, maybe one of these days that will happen, but in the conversation of trying to figure out how we can do an action that is bold, that really shows urgency to politicians, the elected officials, there was a desire to not interrupt the service that you all provide and the educational curriculum for the children. So that turned into, rather than a full day strike of shutting down your childcare space, it turned into a morning and incorporate the parents, the guardians, grandparents, aunts, uncle, etc., family members into that morning to participate in an action with us. So we've done it 2 years in a row. In major cities, we've been very successful. The most that we've had in participation has been 12 locations, 8 really core big cities, big groups, and then a little fluster, a sprinkling of smaller childcare centers or childcare homes participating throughout the state. So in the last 2 years, we've had New Haven, Hartford, Stratford, Bridgeport, New London, Waterbury, New Britain participate. These were the larger ones, Danbury as well. And then I know that we had Moosup for a smaller engagement, but they turned up. And then we had a sprinkling of smaller groups, like I mentioned. This year, we would like to grow on that number. So if you're a child care center or if you're a home-based provider on the call right now, and you've heard about this day of action and you wanted to do something yourself, no one's stopping you. We have a toolkit, we have trainings, we have meetings planning this to make sure that you have the ability to get all of the right support to really manage the morning. You're really getting all of those materials beforehand so that the day of you're not doing it by yourself. And now as a coalition where we have some staff and we also have a steady stream of volunteers, we could also make sure that we send a person to your location at that designated time. So what we're talking about is making sure that we have new towns and we have leaders really, taking over the logistics of the day and broadcasting that information. So what are we looking from that leader, right? If you're a child care center or a home-based provider, we're looking for you to first say, hey, I want to host my town as a location. I want to be the point person for this event. That means that on the literature for that town, it'll be your name, whatever designated phone number, as well designated email that you prefer on the website, also on the materials, any handouts that we have specific to your town. We are expecting that with your phone number and contact information being on the materials, for that location, that if someone has a question, it could be as basic as, are you participating, or where is the action for my town, that you're able to let people know, return that call, return that email, and let them know the logistics and details of that location. We also hope that you are able to let other parents and other providers know what's going on, right? First and foremost, the parents who are in your childcare space, gotta let them know that the day of, you are shutting down for the morning at the designated time that you selected. So as the host of the event for the town, you have a lot of way and a lot of say if you want to start at 7:30, if you want to start at 8, if you want to start at 8:30 or a little later. You tell us what works for your schedule and what time you're going to, shut your doors, ask parents in your space to meet in front of your childcare center, meet in the town green, whatever location works best for folks there. And then we'll do the action. Usually the day of action takes about an hour tops. Some locations went to 2 hours, depending on how much, if you made it more festive, if you have more engagement with the parents, and you have some toys out. Other locations, it's kind of like 15 minutes to gather in the beginning, a speaking program that's not more than 20 minutes, and then 15 minutes to kind of, say goodbye, make sure that you're going with the children to the childcare space and the parents are going to work, etc. So we're looking for a commitment of minimum 45 minutes, no more than 2 hours, but that is really dependent on your schedule and how you want to organize the day. The other commitment, other than you selecting the time, having a conversation with us on the location, we're really, and of course, talking to the parents, we're looking for your advocacy as to who could we reach out to, what other childcare centers would like to participate, helping making phone calls to the other childcare centers in your town, and making sure that they're going to be there. If you live in a small town, do not think that this is just for major cities. Small towns completely, absolutely can participate. So let's say your town only has 2 childcare centers and you want to be the point person, the lead for this event. No problem. We'll reach out to the other childcare center, and then we'll look at the list of home-based providers, give them a call, let them know that you're hosting at your childcare center, let them know what time they should meet at your location, and then kind of start putting the details together of the day of. So we're truly looking for people who are going to put some time in between now and April 10th. By the way, the day of this year's action for Morning Without Childcare is April 10th. So we're looking for a time commitment between now and April 10th of about, maybe 5 hours a month. So it's not much. I know you are all busy people, busy ladies. You have your business, you have your own family. Some of you are going back to school. We totally get it. But in the course of a month, giving 5 hours, an hour for a meeting, an hour to make phone calls, an hour to talk to your own parents and engage them about the conversation. And of course, this is not like an hour of talking to your parents, just one full hour where you're hosting an event, letting them know about this. This is like 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there. Every day during drop off and pickup, you're having that conversation, just to make it a little easier while you're recruiting the parents, recruiting other providers. So that's more or less the commitment. Once April 10th hits, the day of, we are expecting, again, that you are the point person. So if people have questions, that you're available. If you are not comfortable the day of being the point person to talk to, excuse me, my voice is failing me. If the day of you do not feel comfortable talking to the press, and we know for a fact that press is coming to that location, no worries. We'll make sure that another volunteer or a Child Care for Connecticut's future staffer could be there at that location to handle the press component of the day of action, the morning of action. So just give us a heads up as to your comfort level, what you feel you could do, what you really can take on. If you are just willing to host your location, but don't really have the time and the commitment to make calls and really engage other providers, also let us know. We would love to use your childcare space, your location, as the staging where we're actually going to host the event and have speakers talk. But we could make sure that we talk to other providers in the town to really put together, assemble a team to support the day. If you're only willing to use your location as a place of gathering. Totally understandable. If you're wondering about cost, right? Will this cost me anything? Do I have to pay for anything? The answer is no. Some providers in previous years, some childcare center directors and childcare owners have put, invested a certain amount of money to pay for drinks, Capri Suns, water bottles. They've paid for, some providers paid for food, but these are things that are not required for you to pay. We do have a budget in place to stipend and reimburse you or to pay outright the cost of buying juice boxes, buying water. Because the event is not a full day event, we do not expect to feed anyone. So please, again, if you are going to host, we do not expect you to feed anyone. We love that beat providers in the past were able to coordinate with local vendors, food and bagels and breakfast meals, but that is not a requirement. We also want to stay away from the reality of orchestrating something so large that it's too much to clean up, or you need permits, or then we'd have to consider, is this food made in a commercial kitchen? And, who has the liability if something happens when, if food consumption leads to someone getting sick? We're trying to avoid all that. So our recommendation is sticking to granola bars, sticking to typical snacks that you might give, non-perishable goods, and or if perishable, pre-packaged that you can hand over to parents and children as a snack while they're at the event. You also have to take in consideration that in April, it's not going to be so, hot and sunny. We did make the decision as a team in the ATS committee to get away from March because it's just so cold. It was blistering cold last year. Sending, lots of warmth and power and love to those of you who, were outside weathering the cold weather, right? They're outside holding it together. But this year we're going to do it in April with the expectation that it will be a little warmer. Kids wouldn't, freeze and be so frigid, and parents will be more engaged.
Ava,
so
can I
yes.
just jump in? So we've got a couple of comments. One, we did get a comment that date is when elementary schools may be on spring break. And so just wanted to flag that. I know that this hasn't been announced. This hasn't been announced big style yet. So maybe you could take that back to the committee and just confirm that that's the date that they wanted to choose. So flagging that. And then second, I did just modify. There was one person who filled out the form, Sonia, I believe you did. Thank you. I just modified the last two questions to say that if you want to participate, but don't think you can take on being a captain, there's now a few questions in there for you to indicate that. So if anyone doesn't feel they can be a captain, but does want to participate in some way in organizing, please fill out the form. There's an option for that now too. And I will reshare the link.
So the comment is helpful. Anyone listening right now and has any feedback about the date itself, this is the kind of information we need to know. The AT committee for CCFCT is about 28 people. We gather monthly and we have these conversations, and I can tell you no one mentioned it. We didn't know, none of us flagged the date. So thank you for that. You know, there's pros and cons. On one hand, one can say that since it's typically not a major holiday or a major spring break is not typically a time where every parent leaves the state of Connecticut to go somewhere, right? It's not like summer break that's much more time, or the holiday winter recess that you have more time to get away with your family. Maybe parents will be more willing to physically be there with their child for the Morning Without Childcare action, because they might have an older child that they're staying with already. Maybe that's a pro. Maybe a con will be like a negative would be maybe parents are traveling and they're not around. So I will take this back to the ACT committee, our co-chair, Amy Smalls, as well as Minnie Santosh, and see what they say. And, you know, Alex is very much our co-chair of our coalition, is very active in this event. She and Amy and Georgia in the past put together the event in New Haven. So I'll see what they say and what other participants say to give us some guidance. But if you have other comments or recommendations or concerns, either about April 10th, the Morning Without Childcare date, or any materials or supplies or ideas that we're giving you, please chime in. We can only do this as a coalition by getting participants like yourselves engaged. I know that on this Monday call, we don't often, you know, this call is separate from the Childcare for Connecticut's Future everyday doings. Like this is not, you know, an offshoot. So when you see me here on these calls or other days, my role is committed to Early Care Connection. But if you want to talk to me or, you know, flag something that is related to Childcare for Connecticut's Future, let me know. My email is eva@childcareforct.org. And as Izzy mentioned, we did put in the chat the link so that you can sign up. This sign up is, you know, if you want to participate, awesome. If you want to be a leader and you want to host, fantastic. We right now have commitments from Hartford, New Haven, Danbury, Waterbury. We're still looking to secure New Britain, New London, and more east of the river. So maybe Norwich, the Willimantic area would be phenomenal. Stamford would be great. We have Danbury, as I mentioned. So if your town is not quite represented or is too far away from one of the towns that I mentioned, and want to host, then let us know.
Ava, okay, so a few folks, just to flag also, a few folks are saying that that week, yes, but other weeks are, you know, the 15th. So I think it's not a universal, and just wanted to let you know that. It looks like Hartford is the week of the 8th, but Danbury is the 15th, and New Fairfield is the week of the 15th. Folks are putting a lot of information in here. Let's see, there is a question, or at least maybe a comment in the Q&A. Last week of April would be best. Districts are not the same. They're either the second or third week in April, but the week of the 22nd should be everyone back in school. That said, I think that part of the planning is that this has to also be done at a time when it can have the greatest impact on the legislative session. And so I was hoping that you could just give us a few-minute overview of the purpose. What is the purpose of this, and what kind of change,
right? A little backtrack here.
Backtrack a little bit. What is the purpose? What kind of change are you trying to make? And why is it important that this be timed in a certain way to affect the legislative session?
So the last week of April is a no-go. So on purpose, everything that we do as a coalition is with the intention of activating elected officials, aka the governor and our legislative body. So we have a bunch of people who are elected, you know, representation throughout our state. Our 169 towns have their own state rep and state senators divided by how many people live in your town. You might share a state rep with another town. And these people have the power to approve money to go into early care and education. I know occasionally when it comes to legislative session, we sound like a broken record. We repeat a lot about advocacy and session this and session that. What it comes down to is if we do nothing during session, the we meaning you, me, anybody on this call, if we stayed completely quiet and nothing would happen, and those legislators who have the authority to approve money, to approve regulation changes on your curriculum, on what kind of credentials you need in order to be a child care provider, if we did nothing, then they would do whatever they thought was right, whatever they wanted to do. So by creating this big day, this big event, it's an orchestration, right? Last year we had 2,000 people participate. That is not easy. You see how much, work and effort we're doing right now to add to a website, developing a list, recruiting you all to participate. This is going to be 3 months of work all for one day. So if we were going to put that much energy into one day and not have it align with when those legislators vote and approve money, then it would kind of be all for naught, right? Specifically, one of the reasons last year and the previous to that, the day of action was in March, despite how cold it was, we were aligning those days of action when we were testifying during session. So every legislative session, there's an opportunity where legislators, the elected officials, open up their doors, open up the Zoom and say, okay, we have these ideas that we want to put forward to create new laws and to make sure money goes into a particular place, right? They can be having a budget discussion and they make decisions as to where that money goes. So they open up their doors, they open up Zoom and say, we want to hear from you. We want to hear from you. This is your window. Anybody at all. You don't have to be a registered voter. You could be a resident. You could be someone who rents. You can be someone who lives here and owns. You could be a childcare provider. You can be a parent. Anybody at all can go to the Capitol or sign up to a legislative hearing on Zoom and tell them, yes, I want you to put money here. Yes, I want you to support this new law, this bill proposal to do X, Y, and Z. So last year and the year before, the action was around that time when we were sharing our stories through a hearing. This year, because we want to do it during a warmer period of our season, we don't want to be popsicles outside with the kiddos. By doing it in April, we are purposely avoiding the time that you get to testify, that you get to share your story. But it's not too late, right? That first week of April and second week of April, it's not too late, because this is the moment that those same legislators, after hearing your stories, they say, okay, I heard from Izzy, and I heard from Sandra, and I heard from Eva, and they said childcare providers need money, and childcare providers seem to be, in dire straits. They need some help. I remember that, and I really do want to support them. I want to support what they said. Let me make sure to vote yes on it. Let me make sure to tell my other coworkers, other legislators, to also vote yes on it. So April's around that time. This year is a shorter legislative session than a budget year, than last year. So things are happening much quicker. So those first 2 weeks of April is a time where those legislators are bargaining. They're having negotiations internally with their coworkers about, now, hey, Tom, if you vote for my bill, I'll vote for yours. And and by the way, voting for my bill about early educators is important because we're supporting so many parents and we're supporting so many providers. So they're negotiating behind the scenes. They're having those conversations. By us having an action around the time that they're kind of bargaining with each other and figuring out if in fact we are a priority, it's good timing. Imagine if I'm, a legislator, not quite sure if I care about early care and education, and then that same day, before I have to vote on it, before I have to make a decision, I see 3,000 people all through the state of Connecticut standing up and saying, hey, we need you, politician, to support us. 3,000 people is pretty impressive, and being broadcasted through different news outlets in the state, and having not only your constituents, people who live in your town where you represent, but other towns also represented, is a very powerful moment. So that's what we're trying to create. Back to why not the end of April. It's too late. it's just too late. May is the conclusion of legislative session. We don't want to be up against the clock of only the last 2 weeks of session. You do want some time to make sure that we're making our proposals, pushing the right buttons on those elected officials, and convincing them in time. Because if we wait till the end of April and the first week of May is kind of it might be too late for them to say, yeah, I care about early care and education. We don't want to run out the clock and be a forgotten idea. We want to be a priority, which means that the first 2 weeks of April logistically makes sense. Now, as of now, right, in this conversation on this call, we are sticking to the April 10th day. But I hear you guys. I'm not gonna completely throw away your comments. Your voices are powerful. So I'm gonna bring it back. We work as a democracy, so I'm gonna bring back all your feedback and comments that you made today to our ACT committee meeting. If you guys want to participate in the ACT committee meeting, feel free to sign up and register for that Zoom. That's gonna be, it's always the second Thursday of every month. So that's February 8th is our ACT committee meeting, February 8th. And you can go to the Childcare for Connecticut's Future website to sign up and participate for that. And that's childcareforct.org, childcareforct.org. And it'll also be on the chat to sign up to be part of that committee meeting. Lastly, with the ACT committee happening and planning and, figuring out the logistics, we are also going to have toolkits and materials ready for anyone at all to participate. So, for example, you want to participate the day of, you do not want to host an event, totally get you. We still are asking that you talk to the parents in your child care space about this event. So if you're a home-based provider, just like centers, most of you have a bulletin board or an area close to where the parents drop off the child. We ask you to print out a flyer, save the date of our event. When we're giving out materials that say, here's a flyer you can share, print it out at home and share it. When we say, here's some social media posts or hashtags, then it'd be great if on your personal or your business account, you could also post that flyer or post about the event. Our goal is to have as many parents, as many educators, providers throughout the state of Connecticut attend. That means that the bare minimum for all of you to really be engaged on this important day is 1, show up yourself, actually go, right? Please attend. 2, bare minimum is bring kids, bring parents. And the 3rd is have that conversation, right? Have the conversation with the parents to see if they can attend. So those are really the top 2 asks. Is you should go, and you should make sure that the parents and children you care for should also attend. If you want to be a superstar, go a little bit more. You're very dedicated on getting more money in your pockets, getting a raise. That means telling legislators that you matter. Then it's talking to your friends, talking to family members. Then, going the extra mile is being a captain, deciding that you're going to help organize the event, maybe not host it, but help organize. And if you're going to go all in, you're fully committed, then you're helping, with the orchestration of the location. You are the point person, you're a contact person, you are guiding the conversation for your town for this event. So those are the different layers of how to get activated. Again, this event is for you. It's by you. I'm just a spokesperson, trying to push out the importance of the event, but this is provider and parent led. Izzy, I'll pass it back to you because I've been talking a lot.
That's all right. That's it for today. I wanted to just point out to folks that this is all in all the links are in the chat. You can go to childcareforct.org/member. And that is where you can sign up for the mailing list to get updates, more information about the Morning Without Childcare. When the toolkit is available, it will be sent out through that. Of course, I think Ava will also share them out here on Mondays, but certainly that's the best place for the most updated information on this. It will also, I'm sure, be shared out through the ECE listserv. So if you can't stand one more piece of email coming through, you can just stay there. But I will say the Childcare for CT emails are helpful, and there's some good information there. They don't come out very often, so I'd recommend getting on that mailing list. Okay, I think that's it. We have next week, we're going to be doing an introduction to the legislative session, what issues you can expect, how to prepare. Merrill and Ava will be leading that. We have a full calendar over the next month, but legislative session is upon us. We take a lot of the year getting a lot of great information to you guys, but once the legislative session hits, this is our moment to make change. And so you have to be ready. You have to be prepared to be activated. You don't have to give a lot of time, but you do have to just kind of be waiting, because you guys are all providers, but you're also advocates. And you have, through this program, through these calls, advocated for all kinds of things. And so there's big and small ways that you can participate in that through the course of the session. And next week, we will be learning about that. So
can I make a quick mention, Izzy? Someone just asked me in the Q&A, and I just responded. They came out as anonymous. Will there be scripts since this action will be happening after the testimony portion? Someone wanted to know, will there be scripts guiding testimony? What happens to testimony? Because that is important. The answer is yes. We do always develop scripts. So does so Childcare for Connecticut's Future will have scripts ready for folks, as well as the Early Childhood Alliance. That is Merrill Gay is the executive director. Merrill Gay's group, the Alliance, will have scripts guided towards bills that they are supporting. And traditionally, of course, the Early Childhood Alliance and other organizations are part of the larger coalition. But the Alliance, just like organizations like All Our Kin, just like organizations like Circle, they have very specific legislative bills that they're sponsoring, that they're supporting, and they will be developing scripts, specific to those bills. Every year they do it. I'm not authorized today to speak on their behalf, but I'm just letting you know, in previous years, every year, they're always very engaged in the legislative process. They have a whole committee and format of which bills they're going to sponsor, which bills are really, making sure are approved by legislators. And then they have scripts based on that. For Childcare for CT, we are more, all encompassing. We don't sponsor bills that are specific just for the diaper bank or just for home-based providers. Our bills are always about everyone, the transformation of the system. Of course, we love to see those bills come into effect and come into play that are specific to a certain group that we represent. But Childcare for CT's purpose, right? We're looking for millions and millions of dollars to overhaul how childcare is done, to make sure everyone gets a raise, to make sure that parents don't have to pay so much. So those kind of bills that we're supporting, that we're flagging, that have that transformational effect, like the Early Childhood Trust or an overhaul in the system, yes, we will be creating and developing scripts supporting those bills. Once they have bill numbers, we will make sure that we add that bill number, and we will have training on what to say and how to say it, and what's the timing like. Our first training is our advocacy community meeting, and that's February 21st at 6:30 p.m. until 8:30 p.m. And then that next Saturday, the 24th at 8 a.m. until 9 a.m. will be like a part two, more in depth, a little deeper dive into, you know, how advocates could do a good job. So go to our website, check it out, and you can sign up to participate in that community meeting for February 21st. Just a reminder that between Monday, we have 2 holidays that are coming up. One is a federal holiday, one is a state holiday. So if at that point, you know, any of you are gearing up to testify, since we're not using this call as an opportunity to gear up just during session, that testimony, we again have the Early Care Connection. We have the Child Care for Connecticut's Future Call, and there are other organizations holding other advocacy trainings. Sorry, Izzy.
Yeah, no problem. I think that's it. I put a link to the sign up for that. Again, I think if you get on the mailing list, you will get all of the information, the flyer, the ways to spread the word. So, okay, that's it. Nice quick call this morning. Some information to think about. If you didn't sign up or aren't sure that you can, it's okay. Save the link and we will share it out again. If you have a change of heart, you can always email Ava if you think you can, or you find somebody else who can. You can email Ava at childcare4ct.org. That's all in the chat. And all of those links, again, will be in the description of the video posted to YouTube within the next 24 hours. And that I'll put the YouTube link just to be sure. But you can go to the website Early Care Connection, and then you can click right there for the YouTube feed. But it's YouTube/Early Care Connection. So that's easy too. There it is. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to Sandra for providing interpretation. Thank you to Mathias for the information early on about the K start age actions. And of course, thank you to Ava for all of the information. Most importantly, thank you to all of you for being here and being a part of this community. So we will see you next week to talk about the legislative session. I hope you all have a wonderful week. We'll see you then.